Hey guys, thanks for visiting Epic Fox Battlegrounds today, and we're going to be doing part 5 of starting Advanced Squad Leader series. And this is pretty much a continuation of the previous video, so we're going to go ahead and pick it up right from where we left off last. And we're going to go ahead and open up this book. I did leave a little bookmarker, so I didn't have to flip through everything here. But I did want to start again from the table of contents because this is where I should have left off from last time, actually the introduction page. I'm not going to go over this first page of the rules there because that was the introduction. I showed you that yesterday. But I wanted to go further in the contents of this book, and we'll look at some of the details through the table of contents. And the chapter A of this rule book is going to be your infantry and other basic game rules. So that's going to cover your personnel counters, the map board, basic sequence of play, your infantry movement, stacking limits, line of sight, fire attacks, defensive fire principles, machine guns and support weapon malfunction, morale, close combat, concealment, cavalry, snipers, heat of battle, battlefield integrity, wounds, field promotions, unit substitution, prisoners, captured equipment, flamethrowers and Molotov cocktails, demolition charges, smoke, nationality distinctions, and victory conditions. So the next chapter is going to be chapter B, Bravo, and it's going to be all about terrain. And it has 34 sections in it, and they include open ground, shell holes, roads, sunken roads, elevated roads, bridges, runways, sewers and tunnels, walls and hedges, hills, cliffs, brush, woods, orchard, grain, marsh, crag, graveyard, gullies, stream and crest streams, water obstacles, valley, buildings, rubble, fire, wire, entrenchments, minefields, roadblocks, pillboxes, village terrain, railroads, stream hex terrain, and towers. Your Chapter C, Charlie, Ordnance and Offboard Artillery, or OBA. And that is going to include offboard artillery, gun classifications, the two-hit process, gun and ammo type basic two-hit number modifications, fire-based hit determination dice roll modifiers, target-based hit determination dice roll modifiers, two kill tables, special ammunition, mortars, gun and ammo movement, guns as targets, recoilless rifles, light anti-tank weapons. And now we've got to go on. And that concluded Chapter C. The next chapter, Chapter D, Delta, Vehicles. And you will have 16 sections: vehicle counters, vehicular movement, armored fighting vehicle combat, terrain modifications to anti-vehicle fire, inherent crew, transporting personnel, overruns, immobilization and bog, vehicles as cover, wrecks, gyro stabilizers and Schurzhen, horse-drawn transport, vehicular smoke dispensers, radioless armored fighting vehicles, motorcycles and bicycles, DD tanks and amphibians. So then you'll move into Chapter E, Echo, and this is, in the previous video I mentioned that this is included in Yanks, or you can get it here in this later edition, the newest edition of the Advanced Squad Leader Corps rulebook. And this focuses on rules for night fighting and interrogation, weather, ski troops, boats, swimming, air support, gliders, paratrooper landings, ammo vehicles, convoys, and barrage. And then when you move into F and G, those are included in other modules. Chapter H is, if you watched my previous video, I also included some errata down in the comments. It was the first comment that I pinned there. So the errata, basically, my comment has the timestamp on it to where I was accidentally saying it was included in the previous versions of Yanks. No, what I was saying, and I was kind of rambling on at the point and I got off topic, and so I did want to correct it. So there's, you guys have the right information here. But what the chapter H includes is basically any other chapter H that you normally see, the historical notes for the core orders of battle that you'll find in the Beyond Valor module for the Germans and the Russians. And then you can add on to it from there as you collect the other modules. You can add on to those chapter H's just by putting them with all the others. So and then you'll have other chapters, but the one that I really want to tell you about today is the training manual, chapter K. And many of these other chapters are not included in here, so you have to add them in. And as we went over this stuff, these were the historical models yesterday, so we're not going to look at those either because those aren't included in this book. So here's the infantry and basic game rules, and this covers, pretty much a large portion of the starter kit materials. But there's also going to be some new stuff in here, and you can see it's just very well done, just similar to the starter kit material rule books. So these editions are very well composed. And chapter A is going to be a total of 60 pages. And then we're going to get into chapter B, the terrain. And the terrain, it's going to go section by section through all the ones I previously mentioned just a few moments ago. But I thought one cool thing about this is it shows you the hex. You can see that it shows you the hex, what it looks like on the map board. But next to each hex example, it has a three-dimensional, almost horizontal view, and it allows you to get, so there's an elevator road, you can see that. There's lots of those, and a sunken road, depressed road. So there's 3D views. There's the bridges, shows you different types of bridges, stuff like that, and also what the hex counters look like between the two bridges. So it really gives some outstanding visuals. You have visuals for runways and every terrain type in here. It gives you a three-dimensional view of. So they are really cool. I do like the differences in all the terrain and the terrain effects in this game. I think it represents combat pretty well. But you can just see so if you come across a particular terrain type that you're not sure of, it's good to have a visual on it to tell the difference, or know what your soldiers may be operating in, or the difficulties they may be having with being in that hex. So and another difference in this game, because it's talking about them right here, is the differences between levels of the buildings, going up and down in the buildings, and how many stories the buildings have, and the rooftops of buildings, and there's church steeple terrain, and all sorts of different unique new additional features. So we will go ahead, pillboxes, roadblocks, more on roadblocks, mines. So there's the steeple I was telling you about in the upper left. So you can see it has a little cross on the building. So single hex, two-story houses. And I believe we are into the footnotes of chapter Bravo, and that's going to be the end of it. So chapter B is going to be 43 pages long. And then we'll get into chapter C, Ordnance and Offboard Artillery. And this is a shorter chapter, and there's a lot of the standard information you've seen in the starter kits. There is a lot of types of modules and other information and add-ons to ASL that you can purchase to really expand on off-board artillery, such as defensive artillery barrages, responding to other artillery barrages, which was well, to say the least, in World War II, it was an art to detect enemy artillery and respond to that fire. But and then you're going to have armored fighting vehicle destruction tables. This is for, anti-tank weapons, stuff like that. You can burn them, eliminate them, stun the crew, pop their turrets off. And like I said, it's just the OBA and guns stuff, and we're into the footnotes at page 25, and that's going to do it for Chapter C. Chapter D, you're going to move into the vehicles. So you're looking at all your AFVs and armored cars, anything else. And you continue with the same high quality examples of play and details of rules, and there's a lot of information in these books. The chapter D is going to be one of the shorter chapters, coming in at 24 pages. And then we move into chapter E, which is going to be your miscellaneous rules, which were included in the previous versions of Yanks. And that's going to cover all those other miscellaneous, well, miscellaneous as the title, newer miscellaneous that weren't included in the core rulebooks at earlier publishings. But the night rules are really cool. I think they represent the night combat rather well. You have zero, vision and different types of LOSs, and you have jitter fire and all sorts of different rules. So it's very, very interesting. I was looking for one rule in particular. I didn't. I thought it was in the earlier part of this book, but I don't see it. So you have rules for trip flares, fires, and the interrogation rules, and the information tables that you can get for interrogating, defenses compromised, hidden fortification revealed, all sorts of different things can come from interrogation. And then you have more weather rules, fog levels, etc. And some more additional rules, miscellaneous rules from Echo. And there's rules for ski troops in here somewhere, and some other things. There's the small rafts, assault boats, large rafts. So, these are rules that would apply to pretty much every front that took place, with the exception of maybe North Africa. And even so, I mean, I don't even, assaulting Vichy French positions upon the early arrival to Northern Africa, some of these still may even apply to that theater of war as well. So, these miscellaneous rules are going to contain all sorts of information that you're going to want to have to play a wide variety of add-on packs and kits that you can get and grab a hold of for advanced squad leader. So that's another recommendation. Now, last video I was also telling you about why I recommend this book and it's worth the extra money, but I just saw one. I think if you're watching this today, you could probably still find it on eBay, and it was like I think it was like $15 or something like that, plus or $19 plus like $10 shipping and handling, and didn't have any bids on it. But it was like an older Avalon Hill edition, which pretty much is all the same rules. But that book in particular, he had already acquired many of the different chapters that were in the table of contents that you wouldn't find even in this edition, like from the other modules. And I think he had part of the solitaire, if not the whole solitaire version in it. So, and if nobody else is getting it, you could grab that one for like $35 or something like that. So, there are other means and methods you could go about to getting, the rules with, a lot of the other extensions already included. So this isn't the only way to go about it. Don't get me wrong, but I still think, the newer stuff, the way it's laid out, everything, it's just from my understanding of what I remember of the older Avalon Hill books that I've seen and learned from many, many, many years ago. This is still I think if you can afford it, this is the way to go. And then you're going to get into some air support rules in Chapter E, and paratrooper landings right here, off-board landings, gliders, and new defensive fire rules, barrage rules. You can see how the barrage trails when you do those. So, and then there's correcting artillery, observer, radio access, and then you're going to have a large section of footnotes for any clarification or questions you may have. Chapter H, this is also going to include design your own scenario information. So it's going to teach you how to do unit purchases, counter limits, optional vehicular armaments, purchase mechanics, multiplayer aspects of, the design your own side to this game, infantry, artillery, armor, special nationality considerations, capabilities, winter camouflage, parachutes, recording. So all this is going to adjust the point values. So you can add different, basically add-ons to your guys to make them better and have different gear. So it's pretty cool that they included this in the Chapter H. But then you'll move on into a further explanation of the rarity factors and so the nationality, capabilities, and some other stuff. But then you're going to really get into the here pretty soon. There we are. We're still in the do-it-yourself. This is still an explanation of point purchasing and purchasing of all that information. And then you're going to get into the German vehicle notes. And it's going to tell you about everything and more that, was included in Beyond Valor. Plus, there's some other stuff as well that other later German counters that were in the other modules and expansion packs that are included in this Chapter H as well. So this is a further expanded Chapter H for Beyond Valor and more of the German and Russian forces. So I'm really excited to read through these. I'm a big fan of just reading through all this crazy stuff about armored vehicles and the statistical information, armor deflection, angles, and penetration values and ranges, whatever you got to talk about. Armored combat, I'm pretty much down for, and I'll listen to you if you're knowledgeable about it. So it really gets into, like I said, just a lot of the historical information. I saw some king tigers up there. Yeah, it's talking about all sorts of stuff. So, and then we're going to get into the German ordnance, and after the ordnance, talking about their guns, you're going to go into the Russian vehicles. And I would really like to check out some of this stuff here and see if they have some of the ordnance that I'm very interested in using from the Russian side. And they do have quite a bit of mortars and guns here. I'm looking for rockets. Doesn't look like it. I'm sad. And then you're going to have the rarity tables for the Russians here. And then here's the kicker right here, which I was telling you about a lot in the first video. And this is your Chapter K, Chapter Kilo. And here's the squad leader training manual. And more than likely, I'm going to do a finale of the last video of the Starting ASL series. And I'm going to play through a couple days of boot camp. And it takes you through, and it's basically you put a couple squads down on whatever map it tells you to do. And then the drill instructor, gives you orders. And as you do the orders, he asks you questions. How many movement factors are you using to do this? How many, whatever. So it's really cool. And it starts off teaching you about stuff right away that you don't know about from the starter kits, levels of buildings. And you can see up there, right there, it's telling you what map to put down. And of course, you're going to need the modules to use these maps. These maps specifically come from Beyond Valor 1 and 2. I think there's I haven't looked fully into it, but I don't know if the other ones, this one uses 1 as well. But these days, you go through, a long boot camp, and each day contains several courses and several things you're going to learn. And you can really focus on the correct procedures of gameplay and all the fine details therein. So You can see we're up into day 6, and day 6 you're going to start getting into concealment and the fog of war, and how to use those boards and foxholes and all sorts of stuff. So it's a boot camp. Sign up now. MMP needs you. um, and then we're going to have the index after chapter K, and you can see as you would add more chapters from other modules, this book can get even bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until eventually you can't even close it. So I think that's another reason why I need to find another means of storage here quickly, and I'm going to do that. But guys, I'm really glad you stopped by again to check this stuff out. It's like I said, I'm really excited about it. I did pick up a couple other modules, and we're going to check those out here as well. I'm going to highlight those in further starting advanced squad leader videos coming very soon. And we're going to be doing some more action reports too. I'm actually already doing another solitaire, which is going to be action report number 2. And so that's another one from the starter kit number 2 that includes guns, more guns. So it's going to be cool. And I did want to say thanks for visiting again, but I will see you guys in the next video later on.